to Career Uprising. I'm your host and professional career coach, Lorraine Rise. Join me as I guide you through an amazing journey of self-discovery and empowerment. If you are looking for work, changing careers, or stuck in a toxic job, then this is the show for you. I offer both practical and spiritual guidance to help you up-level and advance your career. Let's start the uprising. Hey everybody, you are listening to episode 147, Starting Over After a Long Job Tenure. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Lorraine Rise, and if you want to learn more about myself and my wonderful team of coaches and resume writers, you can go to careeruprising.com. So thanks for listening, whether you're new or a veteran Career Uprising listener, either way. So yeah, we've been rocking and rolling for about 5.5 years here with this show. So also an early happy Thanksgiving to you all as we're recording. That's just about 2 weeks away. And I love the holiday season. This year, we're going to be hosting both Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve at our house, something we've never done before. Typically, we always host Christmas Eve and have a great Christmas party, but we're going to do double duty this year. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's also just a time of closure, I think, and planning for the new year, which I enjoy. I find that to be inspiring, looking ahead to what's next and also reflecting on what I've accomplished. So I hope that you are doing the same and thinking about what you want to do and who you want to be in 2024. No doubt, I'm sure you are amazing and have accomplished a lot this year. It was an intense year for me, and I would certainly be remiss if I did not say that, speaking of accomplishments, that my book that is coming out just in a couple of weeks, December 5th, of course, is an enormous accomplishment, maybe the biggest one I had this year, and really a dream that I've realized. It's called What You Didn't Learn in School, Lessons on Growth, Change, and Living Your Best Life. And it's in a collection of 30 essays or teachings, basically from this podcast. It's the best of the podcast put in a book with some extra teachings and essays put in there as well. It's basically a lot of my life and my work as a coach over the last 8 years, as well as some client stories in there too. So I hope you'll consider ordering that. The pre-order is happening now. And if you do pre-order before December 5th, you will get a lot of bonuses and goodies. You'll get to meet me because you'll get an invitation to the book release party online. You'll get to meet me online. So I'd love to extend an invitation to you. So you'll also get a number of freebies, meditations, another ebook that I wrote a couple years ago, my premium do-it-yourself job search kit, which is enormous. There's 15 bonus guides and cheat sheets in there for your career change or job search. And then, of course, you'll also get entered into a raffle to win a free 30-minute coaching session with me. A lot. So just email me your receipt or a screenshot once you pre-order. It's LorraineCareerUprising.com or LinkedIn. If we're connected that way, you can send it to me in a LinkedIn message. But please do get credit for that. If you are sitting there listening and you have pre-ordered the book and you have not emailed me or sent me a LinkedIn message to tell me, please do, because there's free bonuses waiting for you, but you only have about 3 more weeks, okay? All right, you guys, so housekeeping items out of the way. Let's get into it. If there is one thing that many of my clients have in common, just a common thread that runs through, I would say probably half of my client base, it would be long job tenures, as you would expect, because my team and I, we specialize in mid and late career clients. And that's the generation that stayed at a job for a long time, 10, 20, 30 years. And for whatever reason, you may find yourself needing or wanting to change to a new job. And that can be exhilarating and daunting. It's a significant change in one's life. It's really like ending a long-term relationship. And in a way, it is a relationship. It's a professional relationship that you've had with your employer. And the prospect of venturing out into the unknown can be really frightening and overwhelming if you haven't done it in a long time. You might think your whole network is sunk into that company. You are out of touch with the job search process. You don't even maybe know what kind of job you want, what you'd be qualified for. So much has changed in the job search landscape just since COVID, let alone 15 or 20 years. So as you can imagine, this transition is daunting and scary, but also a beautiful opportunity for personal and professional growth, which I'm all about. That's my jam. My whole career and the way I live my life is all very kind of, I guess, self-help, for lack of a better word, or professional and personal growth focused. So in this show, I want to explore the practical aspects of a job search, but also the emotional and mental aspects of leaving a company that you have been with for a really long time, because I want you to be able to move forward confidently with clarity, direction, confidence, and ease. And that is a tall order. I know when you have been out of this process and out of the game, so to speak, and focused on your job for decades. So if that is you, I want you to know you are definitely not alone. That's a large part of my client base and who I work with. And it's very, very normal to feel emotional or overwhelmed, especially if you were laid off or fired. If it was an involuntary separation from the company, I can definitely understand how that would be very jarring to have that forced upon you when you thought you were going to stay somewhere and had been loyal to a place for a very long time. So there's a lot of different angles to this, but the first thing I really kind of want to break down is the mental and the emotional transition, the mindset piece of this. So a couple of things that I want you to consider. First is embracing change. I know this is a cliche. You probably hear it a lot, but it is so necessary. And it's such a good skill to have in life, to be able to embrace change. And leaving a job that you've had for a long time is a big step. It's natural to feel anxious or even sad about leaving behind something that was familiar, whether it was a good experience or not. At least it was familiar, right? It's the devil that you know. So you're going to have to embrace this change and see it as an opportunity for your growth. It is happening for a reason, whether you're initiating it or the employer. It doesn't really matter. This is what is happening. So we get on board that a change is happening now and trust that it is the right time. If it's happening now, it is the right time. So consider the new experiences, the new challenges and skills that await you, and try not to let the fear of the unknown stop you. Just because something's unknown doesn't mean it's bad. It quite honestly could be better. So, like I said, whether you're moving forward voluntarily or not, let yourself feel the feelings that you have. It's honor those feelings, but don't resist the situation. Feel the feelings as you're still making progress and moving forward through the situation. If you felt called to make this change, trust that. The sooner you, or even if the change was forced upon you, the sooner you accept it and accept what is happening, the faster you can move through it and find a solution. The only way out is through. That's a chapter of my book, by the way. Because it's true. That's one of my teachings. The only way out is through. Just keep moving and going forward. Even if it feels like you're moving through the dark and you don't know where you're going, that is okay. Just keep walking. All right. Number 2, though, is reflect on your accomplishments. This is an ideal time for you to stop and take a self-inventory and reflect on your career. Ask yourself some hard questions. What have you achieved? What do you still want to achieve? What are you most proud of? What's your biggest failure? What could have gone better? What would you change if you could? If you could design your ideal position going forward, what would that look like? You have many accomplishments. I know you do. I know you're amazing, whoever you are listening. I'm sure you are. So recognize your strengths and your abilities. That the more you build yourself up in this process, the better your self-confidence will be and the better results you will get in the job search. So put pen to paper and start documenting some of your best wins and accomplishments and lessons learned from your career. All right. It's cheaper and more enjoyable than therapy. I promise. Okay. Because that's the other option, right? No, that's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying this is something that you can do now for free to help yourself through this process. So start documenting. What are some things that you have learned? What are some good projects you work on? What are your accomplishments from this position that you are now leading or from this company? And jot them down because you're going to need them when you start updating your resume. That's going to be a further step here. But the other thing too, in terms of mindset, is don't do it alone. Get help of some kind. If you're facing a major career and life transition, make sure you have a good support system, whoever that is. Reach out to family, friends, colleagues, a coach, whatever you want, somebody who can offer practical and emotional support during this time, because this career change is a life change. That's what it is. We're here, of course, to help you. We do this every day and help people in this kind of situation. That's our specialty. But you have family and friends too. You have former bosses, former colleagues, whatever, whoever it might be. I don't want you to just kind of suffer in silence. I want you to start setting up calls, coffees, lunches, whatever you can. Give yourself a little bit of a period if you need. If you've just been through a traumatic layoff from a company that you've been at for 20 years and you just want some quiet self-reflection time, that's fine. But eventually, we're going to want to get you going and get you out of the house and stay active and engaging with people in your network as the next step. But yes, do take time for yourself if you need that, of course. Okay, so we're going to pause, take a short commercial break, where you can learn a little bit more about myself here at Career Uprising. And then we're going to come back and there's a lot more. We're going to get into the kind of the nitty gritty of the job search process and what your tangible action steps are to discover this next chapter in your career. So stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey there, listeners. Thanks for tuning in to Career Uprising. I have some exciting news for you. This show has been going steady since 2018, and I have amassed well over 100 episodes so far. So I decided to do something big and bold. I put the best of all of my teachings together in a book. That's right. I have a brand new book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all the major outlets. It's called What You Didn't Learn in School: Lessons on Growth, Change, and Living Your Best Life. This book contains 30 powerful lessons from my podcast and my work as a career coach to help you live your best life. Learn how to increase your confidence, get rid of imposter syndrome forever, finally get clarity on your career path, and so much more. This book covers everything from careers to finances to health to relationships and more. Head over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or your favorite book retailer and pre-order your copy of What You Didn't Learn in School. Then go to my website, careeruprising.com, to learn more about how Career Uprising can help you transform your career and your life. Let's get back to the show. Okay, guys, let's get on to the job search process. Where do you even begin? A job search itself can already be a painful process and be overwhelming. But then when you add into that the magnitude of this change when you have been with a company for a really long time, it just adds a whole nother layer to it of complexity. And I don't mean that to sound negative or scare you, but realistically, I just want you to know if you're feeling really overwhelmed and daunted by this process, that is okay. But if you're feeling awesome and ready to go, good for you. Lean into that. Definitely. It lands differently with different people, but I just know that from the hundreds and hundreds of people that we have coached, many of them reach out to us for help for this reason, because they don't want to go through this process alone. They don't know what they don't know. And they want a resume update. They want coaching. They want direction. There's so many ways that we help people, but it is a big process. So let's break it down a little bit to some basic things that your first starting points. There's so much I could dig into. I could probably do 2 episodes on this, but at a high level, here's where we want to start. Of course, first, number 1 is updating your resume. And I know this is a painful process, but I want you to do this as soon as possible while a lot of your accomplishments are still fresh in your mind. So start thinking about your best skills, your specific accomplishments, as specific as you can get. Okay, so projects that you led, deliverables that you had, people that you hired and trained. What are the outcomes that your job expected of you? How was your performance measured? Those are your accomplishments. What did you essentially deliver to the company, and how would your performance have been evaluated? Well, what would have been deemed a success? Okay, those are the things that we want to think about, and start putting them to paper. And like I said, we're here to help you through this process, or if you write it yourself, either way, I want you to put lots of good success stories in there. And there's a little acronym that we walk our clients through: CAR, challenge, action, result. When you're writing those resume bullet points, you want to think about what was the challenge or the situation, what is the action you took, and what was the result. And that's the most important part, certainly. But like it or resume writing or not, that is your first step, because you're going to need that resume in the job search process. So you really have to get that going before you start networking or applying to jobs online. Okay. Number 2, once you have that in place, I want you to think about leveraging your network. I want you to think about, who do you know? One thing that older job seekers do tend to have as an advantage over the younger generation, I believe, is a bigger network. You've been alive on this planet for longer. You may have deeper, longer held relationships, or know more people. Leverage that. That is such a good benefit. That is something that other people don't necessarily have. And I know you might feel like all your connections are at this one company, but that's rarely true. I know you know people outside of that company. And who's to say people within that company couldn't help you? If you're laid off, it's not a secret that you're job searching. People that you worked with and worked well with that are still at that company may be willing to help you. They could refer you to somebody else. So don't think that network couldn't be there for you to help you just because you don't work for that company anymore. I don't think that would be true at all. So tap into the network of people that you know. Set up coffee dates, lunch dates, whatever it might be, even just Zoom calls. One of the first things that I have clients do when I'm coaching with them is make a list of their top 10 to 15 connections, people that you know and feel relatively comfortable at least reaching out to, kind of that low-hanging fruit. And then I want you to build your confidence as you go, and then maybe expand to people that you don't know as well, or going cold to people. But start with the people closest to you to build up your confidence, and then grow your networking efforts from there. All right. There's a lot more we could say on that, but that is going to be a big piece of this. All right. And then think about upgrading your skills. I do think that there is potentially a concern. I don't know if bias maybe is too strong of a word. We had a stereotype of that people who have been with a company for a really long time, their skills might be stagnant, because they've just kind of been doing that one thing or been focused internally for a really long time. And it is true that people who change jobs more often do tend to have a more varied skill set, and sometimes larger networks too. So you're going to have to be prepared to show that you have stayed up to date with industry trends, with technology, that you've still been focusing on your self-development and your professional development, and not gotten complacent. Because that's something that people can worry about when they see a resume and somebody's been there 20 years. They wonder, okay, have they gotten complacent? Why haven't they changed? And that's not always the reason why, but it's just a perception that you might have to overcome. So upgrading your skills and taking courses during this time, maybe getting certifications, just making sure that your skills are relevant and up to date, and be prepared to talk about that in interviews and explain what you've been doing for your professional development. All right. So, and then number 4, of course, is to practice interviewing. And this sounds so basic, and I hear it all the time that people think, I think I'll be fine in the interview. Yeah, I interview really well. And maybe you do, but if you have been with one company for 20 years or even 10, you need interview help. You do. You could always benefit from the practice. Don't take it for granted. The other thing is, too, sometimes people assume because they have hiring experience themselves that they'll be perfectly fine when they go to interview. And again, maybe you will, but it is completely different when you are on the other side. It's like almost like teacher versus student or something. I know that's not an exact metaphor, but it is the same relationship, but the opposite side, and it's not the same. I would urge you to get help from somebody, or at least practice, if nothing else, to yourself in front of a mirror. But you need to be prepared with what are the common questions that are being asked these days. There's a lot of new ways people are interviewing. There's pre-recorded one-way interviews, which are crazy. But, some jobs do that where you're just kind of answering questions to your computer. There's not even a person there. Things are changing. AI is getting involved now. So do make sure that you are going in with your best and not just assuming that you'll be fine. Everybody can use practice with this, okay? All right. Bottom line, you guys, there's so much more I could say here, but starting over is something that you can do. And I know it feels like starting over, and it is, but see that as a good thing. See it as a new beginning. It's a significant step that requires, I think, a blend of the mental and emotional aspects. And it's kind of a mental and emotional readiness, right? But also practical strategies. So don't overlook either one. I want you to have a balanced approach and make sure that you're taking care of yourself as a person and have the right mindset, but also the right tactical job search strategy. You're going to need both, okay? I know this transition may feel like the end of a relationship, but that also means it's the beginning of something else. There's something else out there waiting for you that is almost certainly going to be better. Every time I have been laid off from a job, I have ended up somewhere better. I mean it. Every time. The universe is speaking to you. It is working through you and through the people around you to help you get where you need to be. I honestly believe that. So embrace change, leverage your network, and get help. Approach the job search methodically and strategically. Have a growth mindset, have a willingness to adapt, and you will land a new position when the time is right. And you do need to give it time. Right now, job searches are taking people 6 months easily for a lot of people. So that's why I do want you to get started, all right? But you have a wealth of knowledge and experience. You're a badass. I know you are. Whoever you are, you're a 40, 50, 60-year-old badass who has incredible value to offer your next employer. So go out there and kill it. All right, you guys, that's it. That's my message for today. Only 2 more shows for 2023. I will be back for just a couple of more before we close out the year. But I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope you guys take care and have a good one. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard today, please consider giving the show a positive review on iTunes. It would mean a lot to me, and it would help to spread the word so that others can learn about the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to connect with you again next time on Career Uprising.
This show is brought to you by InflowRadio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.